Now, I know each and every one of you have heard this statement before. Cows is a great place to find high runes. But is it really? Now, I'll bring you the facts you need to know to decide is this really true or not. And you know what? The answer just might surprise you. People have been running the cow level in Diablo 2 for literally decades at this point. So people have found a ton of good items out there, a ton of high runes. But we really need to look at the pros and the cons to really decide, is this going to be a great option for you to run to find those high runes? First of all, glancing at the pros, you probably have noticed everyone's touched the cows before out there. There are no immunities, with the exception of the Cow King and the unique cows out there in the Moo farm. So it doesn't really matter what character you have. If you're dealing enough damage, you can go ahead and slap these cows right down. So that does give it one advantage over most other places in the game. So that's a big reason why people are out there running it all the time. Another big pro for the cow level is the amount of density that can be out there. It is not uncommon to see these packs of cows up to like 30 or 40 cows. Plus, you can run around and lure even larger packs together and then go ahead and slaughter them down with the likes of the Hammerden, the Nova Sorceress, or the Lightning Fury Javazan. So far, that's already two really good pros for running the cow level. But we're not going to stop there. There's actually another big pro for running the cow level as far as getting high runes. And that is cows actually have a higher rune drop rate than most other monsters in the game. Now for this example, I need my handy dandy notepad right here because I wrote down the actual drop odds for hell cows. Now on just players 1 difficulty, so you're in the game, this is just for example purposes. To find a Vex rune from a cow, it's 1 in 379,436 cow kills. Now that seems like a large number, but you do got to imagine it is pretty rare to find high runes just in general in Diablo 2, and the amount of density, the amount of killing you do, so that is the odds of finding a Vex rune from a hell cow. Now to go ahead and compare this, we're going to take a look at the drop odds from a Vex rune from a Fallen, one of the monsters just in Act 1, and also just on Players 1 difficulty. Now to find that Vex rune, it is 1 in 566,057 kills of a Fallen. Now you have around a 1.5 times better chance of finding that Vex rune from a cow than you do from one of those Fallen in Act 1. So I guess that pretty much settles it right there, huh? Well, hold up a minute, we'll talk about that a little bit later because we actually have one more pro talking about the cows, and then we're going to jump into the cons. The very last pro is it kind of piggybacks off of the same reason that people argue that the cows is a good place to find high runes, and that is cows has kind of been known for a good place to find rune word bases. So if you're both going to be hunting high runes and hopefully finding them, and also finding the rune word bases along the way, poof, there you go, a great place, cows, for hunting those runes. But hold up just one second. Now we're going to talk about the cons here, a very important part when coming to the decision on whether you should run cows or not. Now there are not as many cons as there are pros, but depending on how heavily these are going to weigh on your performance in the game, that's what's going to determine whether running cows is going to be good or not. The first con up is these cows hit freaking hard. Now, if you don't have really great gear in the game, you could easily get one shot, or maybe if you got a little bit better gear, more life, 2 or 3 hit by these cows. But because there's so much density, if you get caught in the wrong spot, getting hit by 3 or 4 cows at the exact same instance is not uncommon. Then also, because they hit so hard, say goodbye to Emilio, because he's going to get chopped down mega fast, charging headlong right into those herds of cows. So because they can be so dangerous, you kind of got to play it safe. And in a lot of instances, if you're playing it even more safe, you're not running in, dealing out as much damage as fast as possible, this can really slow down your kill speed. So even though they do have a higher chance of dropping high runes per each individual kill, if you're not killing them as fast because you're afraid of dying all the time, that's going to really limit the number of high runes you pull from cows. Also, in that same vein, if you're constantly dying, having to save and exit, get your body back, or run around trying to eventually pick up your body out in cows, that's going to really cut into your farming time as well. So how hard these hit, how dangerous these cows are a very important factor. Next up is going to really affect how fast you can kill these cows, and that is the size of their life pool. Now we're going to use the exact same example I used from before, and that's going to be players 1 cow, but the total life pool that each individual cow has. Now a standard players 1 cow has 9,442 health. Now, to a lot of people, that might not mean a ton because in Diablo 2, you don't have numbers flying all over the screen every time you hit something. Maybe you don't really realize exactly how much life that is. So we'll go ahead and put it once again in context to an Act 1 Fallen. Now, those Fallen actually only have 771 life. So with some really quick math, actually the cows have 12 times the amount of life as a Fallen from Act 1. If you're dealing around that 700, maybe 1,000 damage each hit, it's literally taking you 12 times as long to kill each individual cow. Now, I understand in a lot of cases that's not going to be how it goes. You're actually going to be dealing out 5, 6, 7, 8,000 damage. But as you get into higher players counts, the cow's life goes up even higher. So that is a very important con. If you don't have great end game gear, if you're just right at the beginning of ladder and you're not dealing out a ton of damage, it's really going to be hard for you to kill cows at an efficient speed. So even though they have a higher rune drop chance, you actually are kind of falling behind just killing every random everyday monster. So I think from the information I've brought to you so far, we really can conclude that cows are a great place to farm high runes. But it's not going to be for everybody, and I'm going to let you know the information right now on how to determine whether it's going to be right for you and your character. First up, you need to decide, do I really put out enough damage to kill these cows fast enough in order to make it better than just farming any monster in the entire game? Essentially, from the difference in rune drop odds between cows and, like I said, the Fallen, and this number is pretty much standard across most monsters in the entire game with the exception of ghosts having that better rune drop chance. So if you can kill Fallen in Act 1 twice as fast as you can kill cows, then cows is not going to be a good option for you to go farm high runes. You might as well just run out in Act 1 and go ahead and slaughter all those incredibly weak monsters. On top of that, if you're ever dying or you got to play it too safe in order to kill the cows so you don't die, then cows is not going to be a good option for you also. Once again, you're going to be better off just slapping monsters down in Act 1 or maybe farming ghosts either on your way down to the Countess or out in the Arcane Sanctuary. So one reason I was kind of thinking about why people will always kind of gravitate to doing things like cows and stuff in order to find high runes is it really does seem this more glamorous. Now, how crazy is it you just go out in Act 1, someplace you've been running so many times it's out of control, but with cows, you've actually had to beat the game. You've had to accomplish something in order to get to it. So just by human nature, it seems like cows should automatically be better. But not in every instance. I actually fell into this trap with the very first character I ever made on Diablo 2. I went ahead and started up with a Necro and I thought, hey, Bone Spirit is at the bottom of the skill tree, so further along must be better, right? Well, was I in for a rude awakening? I could not kill anything in hell with these Bone Spirits. Now this is way back before synergies and stuff, but I fell into that exact same trap, so it's not uncommon. Later in the progression isn't always better. So I hope this information helped you out there in your rune hunting. Maybe cows is good for you, maybe it isn't, but now you know the information. So happy hunting out there for high runes. Never forget though, keep slaying.